Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for making the trek over here to my session. My name is Bill Cullifer, and I'm the Executive Director and Founder of WebProfessionals.org, commonly known as the World Organization of Webmasters. I'd like to start off this session by recognizing, acknowledging, and thanking the Mid-Pacific ICT Center, James Jones and Company. Is anybody here from MPIC? Great organization, great effort, as you know. We're real pleased as a professional organization to be associated with the Mid-Pacific ICT Center because they really represent, I think, best practices in ICT, which we're a big fan of, obviously. And we also are an ICT champion. I met James Jones a couple of years ago, and we've been collaborating ever since. We're really pleased with the workforce studies, that empirical data that employers provide oftentimes in terms of surveys. This is what I think policymakers need. It's what educators need. It's what professional associations need to make the case for why careers in the web profession, ICT, is important. I think James and Company at MPIC does a great job in connecting some of the dots by linking, academic institutions with business and industry. Great job, and then providing advocacy is a great thing because as an organization we've been advocating on behalf of ICT for 15 plus years, so it's nice to have that company. Today's session is Unifying the Web. Not a sexy title, but it worked for me at the minute because it was descriptive when James asked me to put the session together, because that's essentially what I'm here to do today, is to talk about the issues that we face offering things like web professional education, interdisciplinary education, and how we would like to work with you and others to unify what it means to offer web professional programs. Today's jobs require more ongoing training than ever before, obviously, and a more interdisciplinary approach to education. To face this challenge, educators, employers, and key stakeholders need to keep up with the trends that will most affect tomorrow's workforce. In this session, we will explore how the HTML5 environment, the emerging web standard, the mobile internet, social media, and the touchscreen are changing the way we connect, learn, and share ideas in our increasingly digital world. And of course, we want to talk about the skills, the trends in web design and development, so you and your students can stay ahead of the pack. Specifically, what I'd like you to leave with today is the latest trends in web design and development, efforts underway to promote interdisciplinary education within the web profession, and about tools and resources that will help you and your students in the classroom. Good afternoon, Sandy. Thanks for making it. So let's jump into some trends. How many of you here really enjoyed the presentation by Facebook, the IT guy? I'll tell you what he actually validated in a very high level and meaningful way is the need for business. Employers today automatically assume and expect web professionals are either technical or highly creative or a combination of both. That's almost a given today. But what they really are requiring, in addition to those technical and creative skills, is the business savvy. Because at the end of the day, particularly in an economic environment that we're experiencing to a great degree, it's about ROI. Other trends in web design is mobile. Mobile apps are obviously very hot today. How many of you have a mobile app or a mobile app on either your desktop or your phone or your iPad or iPod or Nokia? So whatever those tablets are called these days, I don't own one, but I'm thinking about buying one. Hot, 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 right? A lot of people are not only designing good mobile sites that look visually appealing and work effectively on mobile, but they're making a lot of money just creating the apps. So there's opportunities on both sides. Another big trend, I think, is the user interface in the UX design. Anybody here is a usability professional, expert? This is an amazing trend because today, and I have quite a few documented reports that reflect this, there are a lot of web designers, and a lot of people have a web page. But it's the UI professional and the user experience design expert that makes not only them pop visually, but work functionally. Web designers today go beyond just clean-looking site. They make the site pop, but they also solve business problems. You talk to a usability professional today, they will tell you that they're creative, but they're problem solvers. So this is a very, very new field, if you will, and a very popular specialty within the web design and development space, because as devices get smaller and smaller, pixels become very much more, even more important than they are on a widescreen, right? Because now you have to make something pop in a 4x5 screen. So it takes that expertise, and they have an entire degree focus and emphasis on UI and UX, but at the end of the day, web designers absolutely mission critical that they have at least a solid understanding of the core principles within the usability space. Another thing is HTML5. How many of you heard of HTML5? Okay. As you know, that's an emerging standard, right? We're talking about pros and cons depending upon who you talk to. But at the end of the day, it's clear that HTML5 is on the track. And in many ways, developers and designers are already incorporating HTML5 in their web strategy. Now, having said that, it's important to note that the current environment that we develop and design in is not going away anytime soon. But this is an emerging trend that people need to be aware of, and you need to be teaching this today, or at least the concepts. Another, I think, trend, something that I've been a big advocate on for the last 15 years, is this interdisciplinary approach to education. Sandy is here from Sac City. We had a nice meeting out at Sac City College in Sacramento, California, to talk about the value of interdisciplinary approaches to education, and I'm pleased to say that we had a good turnout of those from the business community within the college, the design community, and the development community, and oh, by the way, we had the dean, or at least in this case, the interim dean, all sitting at the table together, which is, I think, kind of rare. Doesn't always happen for a variety of reasons, which maybe we'll discuss a little bit later. But the goal, or the trend is, I see a lot more of this, and I have to say, for those that are teaching web topics, those schools and educators that are approaching this as an interdisciplinary profession, bringing in the elements of technology, design, and business, are the most successful. I know I don't really have any empirical data to reflect that, but I'm working on that. But at the end of the day, I'm finding that those that have that level of background from an educational perspective are the ones that are getting hired the most. What I do know is this is often what employers are asking for. I want somebody that can design, I want somebody to develop, and I certainly want somebody that understands my business. So that's a broad range of skills, but it also means that we have to have a broad range and some depth. So I have a breadth, and find your niche and drill in. Have some depth. Another trend that I see, which I'm really in favor of, is turning STEM to STEAM. Because at the end of the day, STEM technology is really, there's an art element, particularly in web design, because to a great degree, it's not just technology, it's visual things that make things pop. So it is art to a great degree. And so Mike Starkey from Santa Rosa is a big advocate. There's quite a few others, but I'd like to see that acronym STEM change to STEAM, because we need to promote creative opportunities. And this is important, I think, because particularly to those that don't consider themselves highly technical, they need to be included in the workforce stream. And also ladies, women, have an interest in design. They may not be the most technological, but web design provides them a great opportunity to create something visually that's appealing and that pops. So with the schoolweb.org initiative, which is something that we created for the purpose of promoting resources to teachers and interdisciplinary education, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what efforts we currently have underway, maybe solicit some of your feedback, about the tools and resources that we've developed to help your students in the classroom, and then give you just a brief overview of the webprofessionals.org organization from a background and perspective. So, from a background and perspective, I am the executive director and founder, as I mentioned, of webprofessionals.org. We're a not-for-profit, membership-supported professional association with a 15-year history of being in an organization. We have, I think, made a lot of strides. Our tagline, as you can see from the logo, is community, education, and certification. I have to say, out of the three, where I've spent the majority of my working professional life with this organization, is focused on education. When I started the organization 15 years ago, I had complete black hair, and I looked 19. And the goal really was to take what I learned about the business and the technology space. I'm a former AT&T guy, turned social entrepreneur, if you will. Somebody invited me to a class to talk to students about technology, which I was delighted. I was even more delighted that they invited me back. It was candidly surprised the heck out of me, but that was the start of the organization. So one of the things that we developed and noticed early on in 1996, if you can imagine, starting a professional organization in the web in the early days, was that the educational resources that were available were pretty marginal at best. Conference models where people got their education and training, talking head, zero instructional design strategies. It was good, but we recognized that it needed to get better. And no better place to start than reaching out to the community college environment. So that's really where we've been focusing a lot of our attention, because community colleges are, in my opinion, are the best deal going. They're on every corner. They're affordable. And I'd like to say I've known many passionate educators within the community college that do a wonderful job of delivering on the promise of education. And so I'm a believer in the community college system. In fact, I have to say my daughter actually is a transfer student. She's in her fourth year at UC Santa Barbara, who sailed through the community college system and got an articulation agreement. And so she beat out a lot of potential competitors because she did take that pathway. So, and she did it on her own without a lot of prompting by me, but I'm real proud of her because I think the community college system is great. We have strong relationships with the Department of Ed at the secondary level. Gary Page here from the California Department of Education and I have been collaborating for the last 36 months to provide educational resources for Californians. I'm also pleased that Alan Rowland from CompTIA is here because we're partners with CompTIA. Has been a big, strong supporter of our initiatives nationwide. So, in short, 15 years we've been focused on providing interdisciplinary education, and the School of Web really is one resource or one initiative that we'd like to share a little bit more detail with you today. So, to the educator resources, what does that mean? Can you see the split screen there? So if I minimize this, there we go. Okay. Oops, how did that happen? I wanted that. There we go. Let's see. The split, that technically should move it down, right? I think that's what I did. Oh, what the heck? Okay, well. I want to minimize this outline.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that a little over the side. Make the little left and right, and then you'll see a little bar in the middle. Down. Up. Sideways, left and right.
I love collaboration. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Maximize the left window.
Oh, take this front window. Oh, thank you. That was a test just to see if you'd help me. I knew that. No, I didn't. I'm exhausted. I didn't know. Thank you very much. God bless you. Okay, so the School of Web. What's this about? Any feedback on the chalkboard? Resonate? School teachers? Schoolofweb.org, interdisciplinary education. Join us because we want you to be part of the tribe. Why is that important? Well, what we're going to provide to you as teachers and students is the following. As part of the School of Web, we're going to provide many of you free membership in a growing community of web professionals that's going to focus in on curriculum frameworks, free of charge, fully vetted by web professionals worldwide, programs of study, lesson plans, career pathway resources, and I'll drill into a few of these, job boards and directories, linkages to allow your students to post their full portfolio and resumes, connections with business and industry, and complete Web Professional Academy programs, which we are underway developing with Monster.com to give a full multi-million-dollar, multi-year resource to schools and adopting schools to provide not only the things that I've mentioned, but also through Monster.com, the soft skills that the gentleman from Facebook talked about this morning that was so important. And then at the end of the day, provide assessments free of charge. Assessments meaning if you're how many of you are teaching web design? Sweet. How many of you are teaching web development? How many of you are teaching both? How about web administration? Web security? Okay. How about web business? Sweet. Okay. So what I mean by assessments free of charge is how many of you are familiar with the Carl Perkins Act and all of the funding requirements that are coming down the pipe? Well, it turns out that the Perkins organization, and through their funding resources, has recognized the need for getting instant feedback from the business environments that supposedly are hiring these individuals from an education perspective. And what that really means is, I don't know if it's mandated yet, but it's certainly heavily influenced that you can actually align your courses up with the needs of business and industry through some kind of an assessment model. Now, you can do that, of course, on your own, which I encourage you to do. But at the end of the day, I think the long-term trend is to have that through a third party. The assessment could be end of the day certifications, maybe from like CompTIA, for example, or through the webprofessionals.org organization, or it could potentially be something maybe as straightforward as we provide you with a quiz online in a secure environment that you totally have to have pre-registered for, assessments to assess your students related to their student learning outcomes. So we will provide you as this curriculum framework that says this is what business and industry needs in terms of student learning outcomes and learning objectives, and then we will provide you with a quiz. Maybe it's the beginning of the year, maybe it's in the middle of the year, maybe it's in the end of the year, or all three, to provide you with an assessment program that's totally free that will give you validation of whether or not you're on track. In addition to that, we intend to provide some custom quizzes, some projects that you can actually wrap your head around, offered by business and industry professionals. So you could, for example, log in and say, hey, what's going on today? What's site out by Google changing selected page search all about? Or what is another issue relative to user experience? So the goal for us is to have industry supply you with the pop quiz or the puzzler of the month. You have your students log in, they register, they take the pop quiz or the puzzler, and then you can incorporate that as part of your curriculum into the classroom and make it an activity that you can utilize for teaching topics fully vetted by not only the webprofessionals.org organization, but by the contributors from business and industry. So I think at the end of the day, the value proposition of that is everybody talks about aligning with business and industry, right? So here's an opportunity to connect up in a virtual way that can give you those resources to help you teach these topics in the classroom. In addition to that, we also offer instructor training, highly relevant. Here's an HTML5 instructor-led short course developed by webprofessionals.org in collaboration with community colleges, by the way, nationwide, to provide you with very high-quality HTML5 training at an affordable rate. In fact, I think last year we provided about $100,000 worth of scholarships for educators just like you to take these courses online, anytime, anywhere. Last year, was there anybody here from the MPIC powwow that we had in the summertime? Excellent. How many of you, did anybody attend the HTML5 course? Excellent. What did you think about it?
It was good. I mean, it was definitely the sense that it was forward thinking rather than what's going on now, where I think HTML5 seems like it's gone on a little bit more.
Well, it's interesting you frame it that way, because I think what you need to know is it's an emerging standard, right? And you talk to 5 people, you might likely get 5 answers on the value proposition, right? So it's not like we want to leave everything that we know already behind, but you need to be aware of it because a lot of people are talking about it, right? Sandy, you participated. How'd it go for you?
It was good. I really didn't believe that HTML5 was going to exist and was going to bring some new stuff. And I really liked what I saw, and I'm ready for more.
Excellent. Thanks. I appreciate that. One of the other things that I'd like to think provides great value is these interviews that I try to do every day, but definitely 3 or 4 times a week, is interviews with business and industry professionals about what it is they do. They're short, they're sweet, they're audio, they're video, and they cover, in this case, Facebook works on the server, so I post the video to the server. It's also got an audio component. It's about 3 to 5 minutes in length. And what that basically does is it allows you and your students in your classroom to kind of pick and choose by category, because we cover the web profession, the gamut, A to Z. But we try to do it in a way that says, hey, what is user interface design all about? Why is it important, and why should people care? So I reach out to professionals from around the country that are authors, notable speakers, web professional rock stars, if you will, and ask them, what's it all about? Why should I care? And, oh, by the way, how do teachers implement this in the classroom? And so I'm pleased to say these same professionals are the ones that I'm collaborating with to provide those puzzlers and those classroom activities. Because what I'm learning is that, at the end of the day, teachers need relevant classroom curriculum that wasn't developed by some committee 3 years ago. They need things that are relevant today. And so this is meant to supplement either your existing curriculum or the curriculum that you either pulled together, your resources from someplace else. In addition to that, the School of Web intends to provide a directory so students can hang their shingle. What does it mean to be a web professional? How do you find web professionals? Submit a listing. All free of charge for students so you can hang their shingle on their portfolio. In addition to that, linkages to post their resume on the #1 web professional jobs website. It's updated every 5 minutes. We've got custom jobs, submit a resume, all free of charge and highly relevant today for students that are connecting it with the job market. There's one other site. I don't know if the link is here, but I'll type it in because this is part of our advocacy effort to help your program folks understand what it means to be a web professional. So this site was designed, webprofessional.jobs, by the way. How many are you familiar with the .jobs extension? It's $160 a year, so I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it's got some advantages, I guess, from a search engine perspective. But one of the things that this site aims to accomplish is to provide you with a resource that can help you better understand what the web professional jobs environment is all about. Call it a career guide, if you will. So the goal of this site is to define, in simple terms, what is a web professional, what are the job titles, why consider a career in the web profession, and then interviews of what web professionals do, where they work, and a resource for teachers and counselors. It's really essentially an occupational brief. Are you familiar with those occupational briefs? Generally, people charge about $45 for. Well, this is essentially the same thing, but for free. That people can career counselors, students, parents can look at this web professional brief, occupational career guide and say, oh, where do they work? Well, they're small business, they're freelance, they work for consulting firms. Just general information about the profession that can be valuable to the market. And then from a why is this important perspective from a practicing professional perspective, I'd like to play you a short audio interview that I did of somebody that I respect greatly. She is an author. She is a web professional of the highest caliber. She's been at this for a number of years. And I simply asked her to help me communicate to you why is this important from a practicing industry professional's point of view. So, if you would, please.
I'm on the phone with Janine Warner, author, web designer, digitalfamily.com, and executive level member of the schoolofweb.org initiative. Good evening, your time, Janine, and thanks for being here. Janine, why is the schoolofweb.org initiative important to you?
Well, I really love how you're working with this hospital center and web designer today. I mean, in the last 10 plus 15 plus years,
sure
all the people have tried to think this might be a profession. It's really evolved to a place where there are standards, there are rules, there are titles, and so even if we don't all agree on them, we're trying to have a little better idea.
We collectively are supporting
Would you bear with me a second? Let me try that again. It's a
I'm
short
on the
video.
phone with Janine Warner, author, web designer, digitalfamily.com, and executive level member of the schoolofweb.org initiative. Good evening, your time, Janine, and thanks for agreeing to the interview. Janine, why is the schoolofweb.org initiative important to you?
Well, I really love how you're working to help people better understand what it means to be a web designer today. I mean, in the last 10 plus 15 plus years, now the people have tried to think this might be a profession. It's really evolved to a place where there are standards, there are rules, there are titles, and even if we don't all agree on them, we're starting to have a little better idea.
We collectively are supporting teachers and students in the classroom through this schoolofweb.org initiative by providing resources. Can you expand on why are those resources important for teachers and students?
Well, one of the biggest challenges of teaching web design is that it seems like it changes every day. So, there's sort of a core knowledge base that we're starting to agree people need to have basic internet literacy and what that means, and the ability to surf and research, and some initial design and development skills. But we're still figuring out exactly what those things are. So resources that help teachers figure out, well, if I'm teaching middle school students versus junior college students, and if I have them for the whole semester, or this is just a special program, there are different curricula, there's different things you might be able to teach in those timeframes. One of the things we hope to do is to help share the resources different teachers are using to meet the many different needs people have out there teaching this very new skill set.
Very well said. So can you give us an example of some of the type of activities that we have planned for students and teachers?
Well, we've been talking about doing this kind of module for teachers that would empower them to facilitate a discussion with students. I mean, in an ideal world, you should all get a couple of professional web designers to come into your class and talk about what it means to do this, because, most of us know what a doctor does, what a fireman does. Okay, there's specialties in a lot of professions, but what it means to be a web designer is still kind of a new concept for a lot of people. So in place of maybe not every class can get a professional in as a guest speaker, we're developing this kind of kit that a teacher can use that has some recommended websites by web designers talking about what it means to be a web designer that students can review and try to get a virtual guest speaker in your classroom.
Excellent stuff. Janine, thank you so much for your support of the webprofessionals.org organization, for all the things that you do for the web profession, and most definitely for your support of the schoolofweb.org initiative.
Well, it's really fun working with you on this, and I'm really delighted with where you're going in terms of trying to empower teachers who have to teach this stuff now, even though most of the people who are teaching are still trying to figure out exactly what it is they're teaching. So we appreciate that, we respect that, and it's been really fun working with you to try and help address some of those needs.
Thank you for bearing with me on that. And so, almost lastly, another resource that we have provided on the School of Web site is all about the interdisciplinary education. It's been my experience in the 15 years that it's a challenge to promote interdisciplinary education at the community college level. And about a year ago, I recently learned how challenging it was at the university level for years. In fact, one of our advisory boards, Dr. Leon Atkinson, shared with me that there was a big push in the 70s to develop interdisciplinary education at the university level. They applied for an NSF grant to establish interdisciplinary education nationwide at 7 colleges. To make a long story less long, 6 of them failed for a variety of reasons. His program was successful, and I provided an interview with him about what the history of interdisciplinary education in this country was all about and why it was important. I also asked him to share with me why it failed from his point of view. And so he shares some perspectives on that. Also, I have interviews from quite a few individuals here, both from business and industry and education, talking about the benefits of interdisciplinary education, why it's important, some of the challenges. And at high level, some of the challenges are basically that the art department doesn't talk to the development department doesn't like the business department, and we can't even get them in the same room. A lot of you are smiling, so you can relate, right? And it all comes down a lot of times to personalities.
Well,
okay.
The way we're funded.
Okay, I was going to say funding.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I should put funding on top of personalities, right? Because it's turf wars, right? So fair enough. Well said. I'll remember that. Money first, politics second. Fair? So I think that I've learned, however, though, that the successful programs are the ones that get along together better. Sandy.
I teach a web projects class each spring with web communication department, and I'm a computer science developer on the web. And when I first started at the college, there was only one person in that graphic communication department that taught web. So I made sure I became her friend. And we designed the class together and have been teaching it with their department in mind ever since. And it's very successful. Our first group of students who took to it formed their own company and make websites and do very well because they have both sides of the house in the company.
Yeah. And when you really net it out, it's the employers that are demanding this. It's not our, Yeah.
I wanted to just make a comment about this in general. Like, listening to that person at Facebook talk about how those companies are run,
yeah.
and then comparing them to how our education system is run,
yeah.
and we're not set up to have even us, after the agility, the innovation, all those issues that people brought up, our systems don't do these things for. And it's unfortunate, It is really unfortunate.
I agree with you. It's unfortunate. Like I said, I had black hair. And I looked 19. And I really thought this was simple. Like many of my colleagues, W3C, guys, scientific guys, go on over there, Bill. Fight the good fight. Get in there, go to the Department of Ed and say, I'm here. Yeah, okay, sure. Big deal, Mr. Cullifer. Get out of here. Get out of here. And so we've been fighting that good fight for 15 years. And I feel like the cup is more than half full now because I'm starting to see some things gel. I'm starting to see people get it. I'm starting to see people work on it. I'm starting to see collaboration, not only at the college level, but now also at the high school and even the middle school. We're already starting to talk about how do we incorporate e-commerce with the art department, with the computer science department, so we're not overlapping our stuff, right? who ever thought, I mean, we're teaching the same stuff from classroom to classroom, to program to program, to school. It's madness, as James Jones articulated very well. We just can't do that anymore in this economic climate. We got to get together and start working better together. So we're advocating on behalf of that. We think the interdisciplinary approach to that is a good way to go, to get those departments talking to each other, to figure out how to formalize the curriculum so there's not that overlap. How many of you heard the phrase mappable, stackable, and portable? I want that on my tombstone. There was a guy that tried to incorporate mappable, stackable, and portable. Why are we teaching in Toledo different programs and topics than we are in San Francisco when we're talking about web designer? Because as James said today, beautiful way he presented it was, did you notice in the presentation how many different titles and how many different names for programs? What was it? 985 California certificate programs.
Oh, it's job description.
Oh, thank you. Job description. That was a test. Thank you. Job descriptions, right? So wait a minute. Something's not around here, and from a business and industry perspective, we need to fix it. We need to fix it fast because we know there's jobs available, and we just need to improve the pipeline. I think that this is a good start at the interdisciplinary approach. In fact, it's one of the reasons why I'm collaborating. I mentioned earlier about this Monster WebProfessionals.org partnership. We're going to identify the schools that get it, and not only get it from an approach, but also from a business perspective, right? One of the values of meeting with your dean is in 5 minutes he got it and said, we're supporting this. And so we're going to reach out to Sac City College with an adoption program that means all of these resources that I mentioned are going to come to the classroom. And we're going to reach down to those students and say, we're going to share with you all of the resources that we have at no cost to the school and develop a web professional academy that's a full interdisciplinary approach. We're going to do it at no cost to the college. And we're also going to get Monster to come in at no cost to the college and provide those soft skills. Because it's one thing Monster does incredibly well is they understand the employability skills. So if you're interested in information about that, School of Web or webprofessionals.org, all of those sites lead to my pager. So if you text me or you email me, I'll be able to respond to that, and it's a great pleasure. Oh, one last thing. This toolkit is a part of that. So this, what we call is an educator toolkit. Everything that I talked about is linked off of that site, and so you can get a sense. And then lastly, let me just share with you how we're framing this, so you have a clear idea of how we're rolling this out. Have I done this right? Let me check at this URL. Welcome, Illinois students and teachers. There's welcome students and done this right? Please be in my favor, Mr. Cohn. So here's how this is going to work. Sandy, please take note. I should have typed in Welcome California. Pardon me for not doing that. But basically, this is a Welcome Illinois students and teachers. So for those collaborators with the webprofessionals.org organization, members that pay or don't pay, more than the money, what we really want is collaboration. Collaboration goes a lot further than charging you money, quite frankly, I've learned over the last 15 years. So for those that collaborate with us, like the Department of Ed here in California, we will offer students free access to everything that I just mentioned via a welcome message that I'd like to think is short and concise, 2 minutes of, hey, welcome to the organization, where we spell out why should you, student, whether you're a secondary or community college student, care about being a member in a professional organization? Well, here's what we spell out. You can expect that we're going to help you find a job. We're going to help you when you need it. We're going to schedule puzzlers activities for you and your instructors. We're going to help you, student, stand out from the crowd. And I go on to say, as a professional organization president, I often get asked, for who's the rock stars? Where's the web people that I can hire? Well, part of the goal here is to develop strategies to get that students into the job pipeline based on the resources that we have. And then we also promote being active in the community. Because, listen, lawyers have their association, accountants have their association, web professionals need to belong to a professional organization as well. And then from there, we link off for okay, now, if you're part of the club and we've invited you to be part of the club, register. And it's as simple as that. And then we built all the tools behind the scenes to say, oh, you're a member. You get content here, etc. So, with that, any questions? Yeah.